They usually do, yeah. No, there's a little. Can you hear this?
Hello? Sorry? I know, I was thinking that, otherwise it's going to be muffled. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's a good job it's a nice evening, so we've got all the doors open. So I'm just going to read out the Chair's introduction to the physical meeting at Seaford Baptist Church. Thank you to all members of the public, councillors and officers who are joining us for today's meeting. Please be aware that the council is live streaming this meeting direct to our YouTube channel. While the physical venue of the meeting is different, we are endeavouring to keep to the usual meeting format as best as possible. There are, however, some key changes that I ought to highlight. Councillors looking to speak will be invited to do so by the chair in the usual manner and will need to come up to the nearest microphones at the front to speak unless you have a microphone on your table. Please do not touch the microphone wherever possible. For councillors that have table microphones, a sound technician will be unmuting your microphones when you are invited to speak. If councillors have any concerns about hearing or seeing others in the meeting, please let the chair or a council officer know straight away. If anyone needs hearing aids, please make sure to connect to the hearing loop for the best audio quality. If anyone is joining the meeting via Zoom, there will be a noticeable time delay, so we must be mindful of this when interacting with them and allow them time to hear what is being said and respond. I must also run through a few health and safety points for those physically in the meeting room. I thought I'd best wait for that. Face masks must be worn at all times, except when you are speaking at a microphone or have a medical exemption. The fire exits are via the main entrance that you have entered the venue through or the disabled access entry point. The assembly point is on West Down Road to the east of the building, and if you are able to, upwards the unmade section of Wilmington Road. In the venue, please limit your touching of shared surfaces as best as possible, although I can confirm that tables, chairs, and each such surfaces and facilities have been cleaned ahead of the meeting. Please remain seated unless you're invited up to speak or need to take a comfort break. The toilet facilities are by the main entrance doors. When moving around the room, please maintain your distance from others. I would ask that participants looking to leave the meeting wait until the end of an agenda item to limit distractions for other participants. Voting will be done by show of hands. Please be sure to make sure your hand is clearly lifted and keep it up until the chair has called the vote. If the meeting goes into confidential session, a short 2-minute break will be held to allow members of the public to leave and to stop the live stream feed. If members of the public present, in person or via Zoom, members of the public are now invited to participate in one of 3 ways: remotely via Zoom, physically in the meeting, or by submitting a written statement to be read out. Those members of the public looking to participate via Zoom will be invited to do so first at the relevant point of the agenda. Zoom users are reminded to keep yourself muted until you're invited to speak. The technical host will prompt when it is your turn to speak via the chat function, so please keep an eye on your Zoom chat function. Members of the public physically in the meeting will be invited to speak next. Please raise your hand to show you wish to speak, and the chair will invite you to come to the microphone in order. Again, please refrain from touching the microphone. Finally, a council officer will read aloud any written statements that have been submitted. Public participation is limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person and must be related to an item of business on the agenda. You do not need to state your name when you start speaking if you do not wish to, but we ask that you clearly state which agenda item you are speaking about. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned about any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please clearly state point of order. The chair will then gesture for you to elaborate. If anyone present is felt to be behaving unacceptably, they can be ejected from the meeting by resolution. Thank you for listening. On behalf of the council, I would like to thank everyone for attending this town council meeting. Thank you. So on to the agenda. Apologies for absence, please.
Yeah, we have apologies from Councillor Everton, and I'd like to thank Councillor Payne, who's come along as substitute this evening for her. Just to say, the officers, Tony Jackson's under the weather, so he's not here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any disclosures of interest to deal with any disclosures of interest? To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interests and interests other than pecuniary interests as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and the Localism Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. On to agenda item 3, public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public in accordance with relevant legislation and Seaford Town Council policy. Public participation will be invited in 3 ways: via Zoom, physically in person at the meeting, or via written statements submitted in advance and read aloud by an officer. Okay, thank you. Then on to agenda item 4, which is the Projects and Facilities Manager Update Report. To consider report 45/21, informing the committee on progress and actions relating to Seaford Town Council's assets and services, and these can be found on pages 8 to 14.
Thank you, Chair. And as covered 5 minutes ago, the report's written obviously by our Projects and Facilities Manager, Tony Jackson. I'm very grateful to Tony for his comprehensive report. He's not here this evening, so I will outline the main points of the report, but it was circulated in advance, so hopefully all councillors have had an opportunity to study the report. When I've done so, I'm very happy to take any questions or comments from the floor before we do the motion to note the contents of the report. So, taking it in order, there's an update regarding the tennis court grant application. And just to say that subsequent to what's contained within this report, we've actually heard back from the funder to say that they actually require some additional information from us. So Karen, as our RFO, is dealing with that issue and liaising with the funder about any additional information required. We may, if necessary, we will bring this item back to the full council meeting in August if the councillors are required to approve any additional information for the funder for this application. Okay. CCTV, as it says on hold, playground again, as per the report. Just to say, and then moving on, seasonal beach huts, have to say weekly bookings have been very strong for the beach huts. Tourist information staff have been telling me just how popular they are, and they're basically almost fully booked for the duration of the summer holidays. So it's fantastic to see that there's really strong take-up. And also it does seem the arrangement moving to weekly bookings seems to be working well. It makes it a much easier system to operate, but also the people then can actually make proper use of the hut because they have it for a week. So that arrangement seems to be an improvement upon past practice. Again, explanations for the delay in the project on the Bonestep wall, but so that remains in the in-tray at the moment. We've talked in previous meetings about the leak at Seaford Town Football Club. The good news is that the application for the necessary grant from the FA was successful. Again, subsequent to this report being written. So the good news is that the grant has been, notification of grant has been received. Again, they need various things back from us, which we are providing. So we are expecting those funds to come through. And councillors have already agreed to cover the remaining costs from the Buildings Maintenance Fund that we have. Seaford War Memorial, really good to highlight this in the report. I think I have to say it's great to see that the memorial has been restored. I think it is its centenary this year. It was originally erected in 1921, 100 years ago. But fantastic for the town as a mark of respect to those who gave their lives, that all the names are now clearly visible on the memorial, and it basically looks good as new. And as town clerk, I've been receiving lots of positive feedback from residents and stakeholders in the town about this restoration of the memorial. As the report says, we want to thank those councillors who worked so hard to make this happen, and also the funders, Rotary Club and Neighbourhood Watch Association, who helped provide necessary funds for this fantastic work to be done. So that's really brilliant achievement to get the memorial done. Then Tony has provided an appendix. I'm going to do 1.5 when I get to the appendix, if that's okay. A summary of the grant situation is there, and again, I've covered the tennis court situation earlier. And also Martello toilets are on the agenda this evening, so we'll cover that under that agenda item. Update on the filming. I'm sure some of us may have seen some of the adverts that have been filmed on the beach this year. And again, great to see the continued positive use. But again, the close working with that Ellie's doing with all the necessary stakeholders to make sure those arrangements run as smoothly as possible. An update on events, Sussex Day, Armed Forces Day, and other events through the year. Obviously, with COVID, there are some changes to some of the previous arrangements, but we have been able to mark the most significant occasions in any way that we can. And as highlighted there, the Green of Seaford is on the 1st of August, and there's also potential events for Bank Holiday weekend and beyond that are also described in the report. Update also provided on the concessions. We have 2 new ones and it's going well, and it's great to see that high and over we have a bicycle repair service as well as the refreshment concession. And just to say also the Westview concession huts, again, positive feedback from the concession holders and lots of positive feedback from the town. And as we've talked about in other meetings, it's been really important to achieve that balance between sufficient concessions on the seafront without too much or overdevelopment. And you know, based upon the feedback we're getting, the balance does seem to be about right in terms of that variety and number, but without having too many. And it's great to see the ones that we have are working so well. It's also great to see that the feedback we listen to the public in terms of resiting some of the huts has also made a positive difference. So we've listened to the public there and it has helped. Update on leases with Rugby Club and Football Club. And also the staffing news that Emily is sadly leaving us after doing a brilliant job at the council. She will be sorely missed. We were able to say goodbye to her this morning, and we wish her every success in her future career. I just need to scroll down to the appendix. To be honest, I think the appendix pretty much speaks for itself and is a rolling report that does come to councillors at each meeting, with including the prioritisation. So just to say that, as Tony has highlighted though, we are looking to see if we can do some patch repairs to the promenade, that's an additional medium priority project to previous reports, so to highlight that to councillors. Okay, so hopefully that's given councillors a deep, a bit of depth to the comprehensive report Tony has presented. So I'm happy to take any questions or comments from councillors ahead of the motion. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Chair. Two questions. 1.9 regarding the concession, the skipper water sports. It did come to the attention of myself and the Chair that unfortunately some of the balls I think that they hire has been placed accidentally probably over the refill water station, and it's making it very difficult for members of the public to access. And I wonder if Tony or one of our staff could go down and check that out.
We can follow that up. It's good to have that feedback.
Thank you. And the other question was regarding the appendix, the project's overview.
Yeah.
What you mentioned about the new project of the works on the promenade.
Yeah.
Is this not East Sussex County Council's responsibility?
I think, well, I suppose that's a fair question. And again, I'll ask Tony to clarify that to councillors after this meeting.
Okay.
Clearly, we're not going to do things, obviously, that would maybe the responsibility for others. I think that in the past, there are aspects of maintenance of the promenade that have fallen to us. So I imagine that's what we're following in this particular occasion. But we will get that clarified.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Hayder, Renew Mahayder.
Yeah.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I have a small question about the 1.3, the crouch, the clubhouse roof. We are agreed to contribution toward this work. How much is not clear? How much we are going to contribute on that project?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I can't give you the exact figures, but off the top of my head, the total cost is around £19,000. The grant is around 13, and the STC contribution around 6.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's really, I'm glad we are helping them, but we need it. Yeah, it's really nice clubhouse, and our children play there. Okay, enjoy it. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Councillor Meek.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sad to see that the electric cable to the ice cream hut isn't only medium priority when it's been on the agenda for ages now, and it seems that we've come to this stage, and it was going to happen this year, and suddenly, we've got to investigate how we can get the cable there. I can't believe that this wasn't envisaged earlier so that we could have had it in state. As it is, we're going to have a diesel running ice cream van the whole of the summer, as far as I can see. And also, just to point out, the concession up at High and Over also is running a generator all day, Saturday and Sunday. And, that's something we need to try and address, I think, in future years, is to insist that there's some kind of battery operation for that concession up there. I'm glad to see they're doing bike repairs. That's great. I think that the rest of the report is very good, and thank you to the facilities manager for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, those points are noted, and we'll make sure we're mindful of that feedback going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Right, then we are to note the contents of the reports. Would everyone like to show...
So we have a proposer in a second. Sorry. We have a proposer in a second.
Oh, okay. Forgot that part. Can we have a proposer to note the contents of the report, please? Councillor Dunn and Councillor Hayder.
Councillor Hayder, perfect, excellent. And now we can show hands.
Thank you. Now can we have a show of hands, please?
Yeah, that's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, to agenda item number 5, which is the Community Services 2020 to 2021 year-end financial report.
Yes, thank you. Again, I want to thank Tony for the comprehensive report, and also our RFO, Karen, for her assistance in getting this information together. And this is the community service element of the full financial position for the year that was presented to councillors at previous meetings to just understand the breakdown of those figures that we gave. And obviously, as everybody knows, the budgets and then what happened in reality, there are differences because of COVID-19. And as this report says clearly, the committee was we set a budget to spend 338,000 more than it was 1.4. Set the budget to spend 338,000 more, but because of COVID changing what we needed to do, it actually was 142,000. So a significant saving to the council was achieved, which is explained in the report. The full breakdown of income and expenditure is shown in the appendix. I'm not going to go through that line by line, but as I say, Tony and Karen have helpfully highlighted some of the key variances in this section of the report and the reasons again for the changes. So I'm not proposing to go through in more detail on that, but happy to take any questions that councillors have when I've finished my summary. So that takes us through to section 3. Again, as always, with the accounts are presented, we give a summary of changes in the earmark reserved, and again, those are shown to you within the report at section 3.2, and again, including the total of changes in earmark reserves relevant to community services, that again shown how the £49,000 figure has been calculated. So again, I'm grateful to the authors for the comprehensive report, but again, happy to take any questions or comments from the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Councillor Dunn.
Councillor Dunn.
Yes, thank you, Chair. 118, the beat charts. I take it this is the beat charts, the weekly rental beat charts. How comes there was no install and dismantle costs this year when we had to, in 2019, we did have to factor that into the cost of what we were charging? I'm just surprised to read that. Thank you.
Okay, so it's 118, isn't it? So no install and so there were no install and dismantle costs. Okay, I'm going to take that away and reply outside this meeting because I'm afraid I don't know myself. Sharon, do you know? No, I don't. No. Okay, well, we'll come back to councillors about that to clarify that. It's a fair question.
Any further questions? So the proposal is to note the contents of the reports then. So can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Proposer Renuma, Councillor Hayder, and seconder Councillor Edson. Thank you.
And show of hands?
And the show of hands? Thank
That's
you.
unanimous, Chair. Thank you.
Right, agenda item 6, which is to inform the committee on progress and actions relating to the Martello Toilet and Cafe project.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'm grateful to Tony for his update report on this item. And as he has covered here, the good news is things are moving forward. And the key thing that had to be done since the last meeting was to recruit a new architect to take on the project. We were absolutely delighted with the response to our advert for the architect, and we had 11 applications, which was a fantastic response, all from architects, if you like. So they were all serious applications and from the sorts of companies we hoped would be responding. And the report describes the process we went through to be able to select ABIR architects as the architects of choice. And that's in section 1.2. And I want to thank councillors and officers who were involved in that selection process for their work in so doing. ABIR's application was really impressive, including their track record, as some of which is highlighted within the report. As the report goes on to say, now that they've been appointed, the process has begun. Tony and myself have met with them and put together initial timelines so councillors can have clarity about what will be happening and when. And the current timeline is set out for councillors to see within the report. And then, as I say, there's also described within the report some of the initial discussions with the architects about the brief and any things that may need to be, if you like, slightly, some level of amendment to it with the new architects reviewing it. And all of this is heading to a report at 1.7 to report to full council at the full August meeting, where the revised, the latest work of the new architects will be presented to all councillors then. There's some financial costs that are also explained within the report, but as I say, hopefully that timetable and the work underway gives councillors a sense of how things are progressing with this obviously vital project. I'm very happy to take any questions or comments from the floor. Thank you.
Councillor Payne.
You've said that the plans will be presented at the full council meeting. Will we get to see them first so we can make some comments beforehand, or will it just turn up on the day?
I think the plan is, because obviously the architects are working to a tight timeline and have gone away to do the necessary work for that meeting. So we think that they'll be presenting the plans to that meeting.
Right. It doesn't give us a lot of time to think about it though, does it? Because they want to then start submitting a few days after.
I mean, the reason for that, Councillor Payne, is that the work that they are doing is based upon the work that councillors previously agreed.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's not a new thing.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely fair question that you ask. And as I say, but they've got the work that was originally done. Right. And now, with their expertise there, they're taking that work forward and we're presenting how they're going to do that. And there may be some amendments within that that will be presented to councillors at the August meeting.
Okay, no, great.
Thank you.
Councillor Dunn.
1.4, I mean, it says that they may only propose in one concession.
Yes.
Can I just inquire two questions? Why are we not using the existing footprint of the actual toilet plus the entrance and incorporating the lifeguards hut and the Martello Kiosk? If we incorporated all of that, we would have a much bigger footprint. I've always wondered why we've never done that. Okay. And my second question is that the existing design that was submitted to the lottery, I always had grave concerns on it because it said we're only going to get 3 public toilets and that they would probably end up being unisex. And I clearly remember one council meeting way back stating that there were members of the public that wouldn't be happy with unisex toilets. And for the fact that we're going down the route of a massive change in places, a disabled toilet and a family room, is left us no room for any actual public toilets, which is where the majority of our visitors are. I'm gravely concerned about that and the fact that they're unisex. I mean, it may not be answered tonight, but I would appreciate some feedback on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Those are absolutely fair questions. To take them in the order you asked them, in terms of the footprint, as I say, we're working to the footprint that was agreed by council when the plans were agreed. So that's why the footprint was agreed then, if you like, and that's the footprint that's still being used going forward. And in terms of numbers of toilets, the plans that, again, are the plans that were agreed before, where you have where there's a change in places plus six other toilets, I believe, in terms of including there's a disabled toilet and then 5 others. I think we'll discuss with the architects how the best, if you like, the best organisation of those 6 toilets that we think will be possible within the brief that we have, and then feedback to councillors on that at the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Payne.
Sorry, I should have asked when I was there. Can I have a copy of the original plan?
Yes,
Because obviously I don't know.
I'll get that sent to you, Councillor. It's a very good point, Councillor Payne, because of course you weren't here then. Absolutely.
Thank you. I also agree with Councillor Dunn. I've heard people complain they don't like the idea of having unisex toilets. So I think that's something that, there's...
Again, we'll go back and check the original brief, but we'll discuss that with the architects as well, so we'll have some answers in August.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Meek?
Thank you, Chair. And just in picking up on that last point, I think you do have to be careful going forward. We're in changing times. People don't want to be designated as a particular sex these days necessarily. So I think you have to be a little bit careful as to how you designate public spaces like that. Not that I'm prejudiced in any way whatsoever, but I think you do have to think forward into the future of how these perceptions are going to be taken. I just wanted to check something. On the previous report, which was report agenda item 4, it says under the current year's grant applications, it says Martello Toilets and Cafe Community Lottery Fund, and it says to be resubmitted. Yes. We understood, as far as we were all aware, as far as I was aware, the lottery bid we still had was live. Yeah. So I didn't reckon it had to be resubmitted.
Okay,
Thank you.
At the risk of sounding ridiculous, I'm going to try and explain how a lottery bid can be both live and resubmitted at the same time, because that's basically the situation that we are in, Councillor. So it's, again, a very fair question that you ask. We are, basically, we had 2 meetings with our lottery officer. The first meeting was the one where she made clear that the bid was still in the running, if you like, that during COVID they'd reviewed all the bids that they'd been receiving before COVID, and they'd been clear about the ones that they weren't looking to take forward, and we weren't on that list. If that's not a double negative, if that makes sense. So we weren't on the list of not being taken forward, so that's why we're defining it as a live bid. However, the second point is her advice, though, was, given the time that had passed, that the most sensible, and also the additional information the lottery were now asking for, that the most sensible step for us to take was to resubmit the application with the additional information that they're asking for. So that's why it's described as a resubmission. It's following the lottery advice. So those have been the steps we've taken with the officer. I can understand your question completely, but that's why it is a resubmission. They say in terms of the process it needs to go through, the best way of submitting it is as a resubmission with the information that they've required. And so that's how we're going to be taking it forward.
Thank you. Councillor Meek.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Mr. Town Clerk. Does that mean that the whole process is going to be prolonged, or does it catch up in effect?
Question. No, I'll keep it simple and say no. We're really grateful to our lottery officer for the time that she's taken to liaise with us about the original application and the most appropriate steps to take. So I think Tony and myself and the other officers are concentrating on following that advice, if that makes sense. But no, there comes a point in the process where things can actually move reasonably quickly. And we're getting quite close to that point in the process, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Walraven.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make sure that the disabled toilet will be large enough for, obviously, wheelchair and for changing for an adult, because a lot of the disabled toilets are not, and I think that would be an asset to the seafront.
Okay, we'll check with the architects on the specifications of disabled toilet.
And I sign off the invoices every week. There's hardly a week which goes by without us putting our hands in our pockets because something's gone wrong with the present Martello toilet. Yeah. So it'd be good if we can get this done sooner rather than later, because it's costing the council money all the time.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you. Then we are recommended to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? So proposer, Councillor Payne, seconder, Councillor Hayder, and a show of hands, please. Thank you very much.
Unanimous, Chair, thank you.
On to agenda item 7, the street market proposal
And Chair,
in Church Street.
We're going to suspend standing orders.
It's been recommended that if Miranda would like to, I've forgotten her surname, sorry. If Miranda would like to come up and we have to suspend public
Standing orders
orders
Standing
first.
Standing orders so that the proposer of this idea can speak to us. So can I have a proposer of standing? Thank you, Councillor Meek. Seconder, Councillor Edson, thank you. And everyone happy to suspend standing orders so that the member of the public can participate in this item? That's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Right, I have sent a letter into the council. I would very much like to be able to set up a street market. I believe you've all got a copy of the proposition that I sent in. I'd like to set it up in Church Street. So the road would be closed just in between the police station and the plough so that the traffic can still come down. They can access the church, they can access the post office, the nursery. There is still a through route if there's an accident and we need emergency services. It's still a through route. I envisage closing it from there up until the Crypt Gallery, where the pathways literally meet at the bottom, so it comes as a natural end. I would like to invite 15 stall holders. They would be fully independent with their own gazebos, weights, tables, and their produce, preferably locally sourced and produced by themselves. I run East Dean Village Market. I took over 18 months ago. I took over just as COVID hit. We have had to adapt and change a lot. I have learnt quite a lot over the last 18 months. We only accept people who have got good ethics, who make and create majority, if not all, of their produce that they sell. We do have foods down there, we have fruit and veg. Now, East Dean Village Market is there to provide the local environment. We're also down there to provide, we have a lot of tourists. So we have quite a broad spectrum of customers and visitors. In Seaford, I would like to be able to encourage visitors to come and see what a fantastic town we have and what a fantastic spectrum of unique shops that we have. We have so many shops in Seaford that are owned by local people and have done for quite some time. I believe that I can give and provide a market where we can invite people in and to see a different sort of sale which will encourage people to come in and also look around the shops and bring them back in. You know, they come down to the market to buy, I don't know, a pie or a loaf of bread or something as an example, and they then go off and look around the town as well, and they remember coming up for Christmas time, oh, I know, in that shop I saw, and that would be really good for Auntie Meg. This is what I want to be able to do. I would like to be able to set up this market, which is in no competition to the local shops, that encourages people to come back and use our facilities, to use the prom, to use all of the fantastic amenities that are down there, and to enjoy Seaford, because actually it's a really lovely place to be. So, yeah, I'm quite happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Payne.
To get the people into the town, would it not be better to go down to Broad Street? Because then they're actually at the shops. Because where it would stop, there aren't any shops there, so people could then wander back to the car park.
Okay, so Broad Street has got...
No, sort of going on the road, but carrying on down to Broad Street, to the corner of Broad Street.
Well, you mean the top half of Broad Street?
No, not Broad Street. The road you're on, Church Street,
Yep.
going down to because it then comes down to, not Broad Street, High Street, sorry.
The High Street, down the bottom where the
Yeah,
scaffolding
if
is.
you go on to there, because then that's where the shops really start, and that's where people would then wander.
The problem where the scaffolding is, the road is quite small. So what you'll find is that the stalls would then have
No,
to...
no, sorry. Stay doing your stalls where you are.
Yep.
But instead of stopping at the crypt,
Yep.
going on to the corner of the High Street.
Yep. If
Because
you
could
guys
also
give me
spread them
permission...
out a bit more, and it would actually then encourage people to go to the shops.
Yeah, I can do that.
No, that's my personal view anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn?
Yes, thank you, Chair. 1.5 and 1.6, the last time, unfortunately, that a market was held, and it wasn't, we do hold markets in that vicinity,
Yep.
but it's French market or the Italian market,
Yep.
which is a bit more specialist.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the last time a market was held, but it was held off of Broad Street, it went down like a ton of bricks.
Yep.
It was not well received. Unfortunately, the generators were outside people's homes.
Yep.
They make loud noises. The parking blocked people in, and so on. And the traders were not happy. It says you're going to get, this is with the consultation. What will you do if you get so much negative feedback, which is what I'm worried about? How will
Okay.
you address that?
So, depending what the negative feedback is, I'm more than happy to speak to anybody that wants to talk about it and address any concerns that they have. And if after I've spoken to them, then they still feel that it's not a good idea and we've got more negatives than positives, then I have to go with what Seaford has decided.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Sadly, our traders are not always comfortable.
No, and
they always worry that they struggle enough as it
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
especially the independents,
Yeah.
and they do feel that a market may take people
Yeah.
away rather than encourage them to come in. So
Yes, yeah,
that
completely.
really,
And that's why I want to have stalls that offer different
yeah.
things. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been down to East Dean Market. It's a Wednesday. If you're working, then it's really tricky. We do occasional Saturday markets, so you're all more than welcome to come down and I'll buy you all a cup of tea in the cafe. We have got some most amazing stall holders. We've got ceramics, we've got crystals, which I would talk to Kate on the seafront first, if Grant wanted to come over with these crystals, because they're different, but it's still crystals at the end of the day. But Kate and I work quite closely with different things, so it is something that I would talk to her about first. We have also got, I'm trying to think what we've got now. We've got antiques and artisan. I've got local artists. We've got a lady who makes bears out of new, but what looks like scraps of material. We've got people who make things from glass, cushions, but I wouldn't allow people like a jeweller, because we've got jewellers within the town. We're not going to have fruit and veg, and we're not going to have a butcher. These guys are struggling enough already. What I want to be able to do is somebody come down and go, oh, I wanted to get one of those bears from Scrappy. We can do that, and at the same time, they're going to walk past with the extension going round, kind of carries you then up round. Oh, yeah, I need some potatoes. Oh, yeah, those carrots look lovely. You walk past these places and you go, oh, yeah, that apple's really nice. And that's what I want to do. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Anuma, Hader.
Yes, yes, madam. I think it's an excellent idea to seafood market, because we got same shop whole year through. We look forward something new, once a week or after fortnight. But Eastern Market I've been 2 years ago. It's nice, cute market, and Eastern is very small place, and seafood is much bigger. Then we need one. But last time I remember when our market was failed, I was really exciting. I was proposed this time, and this time I want to propose again. Actually, in Sutton Road, back of the Sutton Park Road, and because that time because of all the trader wasn't happy, and lots of people house in front of, and Saturday everybody, children going to out and market in the front wasn't happy. But I think long time ago I remember what one farmer market on Church Street went very well. I think this Church Street will be fine from my opinion, yeah. And other things is not our shops, our business people, is not because they are doing something totally different shops, not similar like this. They won't be upset or unhappy, and it will good idea. Outside people will come. Then when they're going to open market, they will go to shop as well. Good for our business as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ali Haider.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the open market. I usually go Eastern market, and it's nice to go, different from the other shop. And as long as behind the place lane from the post office, if you go towards the end, I think it won't be any traffic problem to the main street or any, going to town center. So it will bring, if we can do a good, market, and it will bring people from outside like New Haven, maybe Alfredstone, Easton, and when they come spend it, they go lunch for the coffee bar restaurant like summer, we see so many people come, every coffee bar is full. So it's not only good for the traders, it brings a lot of business in as well. It's always, I'm keen on open market, and I wish you good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In we also support, because of people coming in to visit the market, we also support 2 cafes and a pub. And on the other side of the road, there's a new cafe just opened up who actually buys their produce from us to be able to sell in their cafe. And the butchers who's on the other side of the road, people come to us, they get their fruit, their veg, their bread, and then they go to the other side of the road and go and collect up all their bits from the butchers as well. So it is literally its own little support bubble over there. Yeah, and that's what I'd like to be able to do in Seaford.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Meek.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a great idea, so long as you do what you say you will do, which is that it's got to be very sensitively done.
Yep.
And it must be complementary, and it mustn't be duplicatory. And I think you've highlighted, I think you're probably drawing attention to Walbran's and the grocery store next door to Walbran's, which actually have specialty cheeses, Sussex cheeses. They also have artisan bread every day. So things like that mustn't be duplicated. Yep. And I think if it's complemented, I think it's a really good idea. And I hope you will, absolutely ascertain what is needed and what would complement, and in no way encroach. But I would like to see the council go further. You've enumerated where you think it should go. It's been mooted before in council about maybe having pedestrianised the bottom of Broad Street. We don't, not permanently, but it could be a good experimental way of doing this. Is you could still have the traffic flow going round by Cameron, so you go up that road there next to Hurdy's house. You could just block off the very bottom of Broad Street. Now, if you, as I think Councillor Payne said, if you put it right in the centre of the town, it's going to be much more in where the whole of the business hub is, as opposed to slightly segregated in Church Street. That's what I would prefer to see, and maybe I wonder if the council would consider experimenting with the siting of this, so that maybe you could try it. If you're going to close a road and you're going to close the bottom of Church Street, why don't you close the bottom of Broad Street as an experiment as well, and see how they work, see what the shopkeepers feel, see what the people with disabilities feel, see what elderly people feel about parking and actually accessing those areas. Because, this could be an ongoing thing, and I don't think we should just plump for one venue and say, well, it's got to be there. We could consider other options. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
possibly have, if it's not enough time, but could we have a feedback on the information that is gathered either at the August meeting or the one after, if the August meeting is too close? Could we have something in the Town Clerk's report to give us feedback on exactly where the information that's collated regarding residents and you know, so we know where we're at and what's happening. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Oh, Councillor Walraven.
Just a quick one. What day of the week are you proposing to have a market if we agree to it?
I would, after experiencing of Easting and people saying that they can't come because it's a Wednesday because they're working, I would very much like to use a Saturday. I think that although people have still got to take their children to football training and dance classes and everything, I would like to open it between 10 and 3. It kind of covers everything and everyone being able to come down. I think on a Saturday it enables everybody to come, as I said, but it also, people have got more time to be able to meander around the market and follow the line of it, then going around and complimenting the town.
Right, thank you. I think, well, Saturday afternoons tend to sort of lull, so it might bring more people in on the Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have some questions now. I know when Tony first sent this out last week as a draft,
Yeah.
I admit I was quite concerned about the location because there is, even though it's a very small area, there's residents, there's quite a lot of business activity going on there. And I was concerned about that part being closed off for that length of time.
Yep.
I wondered if you'd thought, I know sort of questions have been asked now, whether you'd thought of other locations in the town, because you've suggested Church Street, and I know you do the East Dean one in car parks. Have you thought of any car parks in Seaford or somewhere like the Downs Leisure Centre or any other locations?
Yeah, I think if you use the Downs Leisure Centre, you're not going to get a footfall and you're then taking people away from the town centre. What we need to be doing is to go into the town centre. I'm going to slightly disagree with you about Broad Street. Having done or attended with my own business the Seaford Christmas Magic, and on days where it's been chucking it down with rain, and actually we've very kindly been placed into a hall so that we can still trade, but the roads have still remained closed. The businesses have absolutely struggled because people can't get down and pop into the mobility shop, for example, because they can't park up outside and run in there for whatever they need. Personally, I don't think Broad Street is the right idea, and I think we will upset the traders and the shops actually within that area. Where we're down in the Church Street, we have got on this side the crypt, and we have got your offices, and we've got, or some offices, we've got the police station, fully accessible from different areas. And I can't think how many, if we've got any houses. I know that down the bottom we've got houses, which is why I wasn't too sure whether to go actually past the crypt where the pathway naturally kind of comes to a close, because you've got the road that then comes up and joins near the toilets. We do have businesses on this side. Obviously, we've got the pub. They're easily accessible. Well, we've got two pubs. You can still access the Crown. There is a cafe there. We're going to, and the pub, or pubs, we're going to be able to support those, even with the stall holders popping in to get their takeaway cup of tea. My guys drink tea like it's going out of fashion. I think that the residents are far enough back for us to not particularly upset them, and I think it's quite a good place because any of the shops that are along there can be supported by what we've got. I think the main reason I've chosen there is because it means that we're not blocking anyone off unnecessarily. I know that you can turn left just after Cameron's, but it's a really awkward road. And I mean, I drive a big car, and that is a really awkward road to turn into. And if you're not a confident driver, then we could end up with issues. You could end up in Chloe's Cafe. So for me, that area, it's nice. It's wide, which means that my gazebos, because they're 3 metres by 3 metres, which doesn't sound very much, but actually when they're up, they're quite big. you need to have enough space, especially in this day and age, for people to be able to meander around your stock, for you to keep an eye on them, to make sure that they are sanitising their hands before they touch your stock. So it's wide enough down there so that you can come away from the pavement, so you're using the road, you're not blocking the pavements, you're leaving enough gap between the gazebos and the front of those shops that are down there, so they're still getting natural daylight. And you're keeping everybody away from the pavements, which then means that everyone's got enough space to be able to meander around and to be able to go around all of the gazebos as well, but giving everybody enough space.
Yeah, I was still concerned also about residents, if they had deliveries turn up and if the road's closed,
Yeah.
they can't get their deliveries, because obviously a lot more people are having deliveries now through,
Yeah.
you know, over the internet shopping.
Do many people have, I mean, I know that the pubs, I don't think pubs have deliveries on a Saturday.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure what the day was,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, well, say for the pub has the beer turn
Yeah.
up,
No,
and
there's
I thought,
another
well, if the
reason-
road is closed for that, that's quite a long time to be closed.
Yeah.
That could affect quite a few of the businesses, residents,
Yeah.
for deliveries to their premises.
Yeah, that's another reason why I chose a Saturday, because very rarely do they have deliveries on a Saturday. My husband works for a delivery firm and they only work for a couple of hours on a Saturday morning and basically are getting ready for a Monday morning. So, and then if it's any kind of deliveries that are for a flat or a home that's just up the little lane, then they could actually come up, I can't even think what the road is called, where the little houses are that come up near the crypt. If need be, then they can come up round there and access, pop their van or vehicle on the side and can still go up a different route. So it is still accessible.
Yeah, I'd be interested to, because I know you're going to do some, well, if we approve this, recommend it, that
Yeah.
you'll do the consultation and
Yeah.
then we'll get the feedback from
Yeah,
that before
yeah.
anything goes ahead
Yeah.
or any further.
I was part of the other market as a stall holder. I was next to that really awful generator that when it actually broke down, we all clapped because it was awful. And I can actually remember there being a stall holder and saying how awful it was that those stalls were there. And they weren't complimenting the town at all. So, yeah, I was part of that. I know the mistakes that were made and I know how upsetting it was for the residents, and that is not where I want to go.
No, that's fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Because Tony's put in here about adjacent businesses. Are you talking we'll just talk to the adjacent businesses in Church Street, or are we going to talk to the Broad Street businesses as well?
I'm quite happy to talk to whoever and to give them my email address so that if they have a query, because if they're anything like me, then they'll go, oh, I should have said that. So I'm more than happy to give them my email address so that they can email me and say, actually, I've just thought of this question. Can you answer it? That is no problem whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Any further questions? Councillor Payne?
Let's think of the location. What about the salts and on that part near the car park going round to the rugby club?
The problem with the salts is the wind. So the wind catches gazebos, and no matter how good your weights are, it's going to
Wouldn't
catch.
that be the same in Church Street though?
No, it's quite sheltered because we'll
Oh,
be
right.
slightly down from the wind that comes in from kind of Morrison's side, and because the wind that comes up from the beach has got a corner to go round, it is actually one of the more sheltered roads to be in.
Oh, right, okay.
Can you tell I use a gazebo quite a lot?
Thank you. Having seen a market work blow away in it's now bolted to,
Yeah,
it's bolted literally in
Yeah.
quite a few places.
yeah. And I will check everyone's gazebos to make sure they're weighted down properly.
Yep, thank you. Right, so we are recommended, we have two parts to recommend. So we can either take them together or we can take them separately. Oh, sorry. Can we reinstate standing orders, please? Can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you. Thank you. Right, we are recommended, so we can either take them together or we can take them as two separate items. Are we happy to take them together? Can we have a proposer, please? So Councillor Webb and a seconder, Councillor Hayder. And a show of hands, please.
Is this subject to the consultation? Because from this we're actually approving it rather than wait to see what people are saying.
No, the motion does say, I mean, it's good to clarify it, Councillor Payne, but my reading of the motion, subject to overall approval and support from adjacent business residences. So the approval is subject to that support.
Yeah.
Just good to, but yeah, I really appreciate councillors being clear what they're voting for there, so very happy to take the clarification. So as I say, so we've got a proposer and seconder for both motions to be parts motions taken together. So can we see show of hands for those in favour? And that's unanimous, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, agenda item 8, which is the Staycation 2021 Community Services Projects.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'm grateful to Tony and also to Sharon, who's here this evening, for all their work on this report and also the work that's underneath it. Some of the staycation work actually has come through previous items on the agenda and also in Tony's main report. But I think it is helpful to highlight some of the key points for the staycation plans that full council approved at the full council meeting in March 2021. First of all, South Hill Barn car park. So work has been taken forward to investigate cashless donations. Because of the nature of how that needs to be done, this item is moving committees, if that's okay, to the Finance and General Purposes Committee, who will be have a motion going to them next week at the meeting on the 21st of July around the necessary processes for cashless donation be possible. And Council will be asked to approve those processes at the Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting next week on the 21st of July. As covered in Tony's main report, we've talked about the balance of concessions, but also wanted to have that variety. So it's both variety and some of the things that were talked about in your market discussion, actually, non-duplicatory, not competing, etc. And we've followed those criteria with the additional concessions, with the two additional ones this summer on Lumbonisted. And as I said, I think at full council, having done the Over the Rainbow charity walk in June, along with some of the councillors and officers, I had the opportunity to walk the length of the seafront and back, and I was struck by the balance. In other words, there was some, but it wasn't, across the whole seafront, it certainly didn't seem like it was too many. But the additional ones are described here. We are hoping Hot on the Beach sauna will also be back at some point during the season, but they've had issues beyond our control to not be able to come so far. Martello Fields parking, councillors look to investigate whether local charitable groups will be interested in operating Saturday car park on identified days only. And what we've found, we do have a party potentially interested where discussions are still taking place, and Sharon's leading on that. But generally, lots of the local charities have simply lacked the resourcing in terms of volunteers, for example, to take this on. So we're not expecting a huge take-up of this, but we are hoping to have some days operable during the summer season. Well then, as I say, it's an experiment for this summer only, with no commitment beyond anyway. So we'll see any lessons we want to learn at the end of the summer from the process, but still good to have given those community organisations the opportunity, and hopefully some at least will be taking it. Similarly, we talked about wanting to have development of further entertainment opportunities at the Salts, and again, discussions are ongoing and they're described within the report. But as I say, because all of these activities have been agreed by full council in March, there are no further financial implications at this stage. Again, happy to take any questions or comments before we note the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Regarding the entertainment at the Salts 5.2, you're in discussions with a skate company regarding longboards body boards and everything else. Can we make sure, and sunglasses, can we really make sure, because of what's happened recently in Devon, that everything that we have on this stall is plastic free? Because otherwise we're just going to be adding to the existing problem. Also, we, with the plastic free status, are actually a plastic free council, and I think this is really important, and with our environmental group as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Getting nods for that, so yeah. Do you want to say anything?
I haven't had any further discussions with them at the moment, so
Okay.
yeah.
We'll have some more discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll say we'll take the point is taken entirely in terms of what happens. Thank you.
Any further questions? No, thank you. We are recommended to note the content of the report. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Councillor Webb, a seconder, Councillor Payne, and a show of hands, please.
That's unanimous, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, Councillor Hayder.
I had a request from around the pound and the Seaford tile centre. They said sometimes is it possible in community police at a Saturday afternoon, because a lot of youngsters, they go to around pound and try to buy electric pipe underage, and when they say no, they start to swear and so much problem. And both of them talk with me and say, can you put in the council and see if it is Saturday afternoon, half 12 to 2 o'clock, sometimes the community police to walk around that side. Because they're annoyed every Saturday, a lot of kids around there and make a lot of nonsense. Thank you.
Okay, well, we have regular liaison with our police, so we'll take that away, and thank you for raising the point. Okay, and just sorry, Chair, when at the beginning of the meeting, I forgot to pass on Councillor Cash's apologies, which I must apologise, but we will make sure those apologies are in the minutes because they were received and we sent her our very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I will conclude that the meeting is over. So thank you very much. The meeting is finishing at 8:05. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.